Innova Champion Discs. The choice of champions. Number 1 in disc golf. Founded in 1983, Innova is the largest disc golf manufacturer in the world. Innova seems to have it all. History of success, brand recognition, distribution. If you played disc golf, it's likely that an Innova disc was one of your first. However, despite spending 40 years at the top of the sport, some have begun to question whether Innova can maintain its position. Innova's grip on the top talent in the sport has begun to weaken, as the highest-ranked players are leaving Innova for competitors. This raises the question of whether Innova considers this to be a problem. Is it an intentional move on their part? Let's take a look at why this could be one of the most significant decisions they make this decade. Ken Climo's ascension to the top of the sport resulted in the first ever disc golf sponsorship when Innova inked a deal with the champ by the mid-90s. Linking the company to a top pro was important in aligning the brand of Innova with success in disc golf. By the turn of the century, the two largest disc manufacturers, Discraft and Innova, had a substantial market share of the growing sport. The race for player sponsorships was on, and Innova signed many of the other top pros, leaving little doubt that Team Innova was the best in the game. From 1999 to 2007, Innova-sponsored MPO players won a staggering 80% of PDGA majors and 79% of National Tour events. In 2008, an 18-year-old named Paul Macbeth turned pro and had already secured a sponsorship deal with Innova. Even as other disc manufacturers emerged, Innova continued to invest in the sport's top talent. And that, along with Macbeth's rise to success, extended Innova's tradition as the choice of champions. Despite the increased competition, the decade plus with a strong team of top professionals led by Macbeth saw Innova winning more majors than any other team won total events from 2008 to 2018. Let's take a second to admire what Innova had built. Not only was Innova winning in the sponsorship game, but many of their top disc molds were consistently topping the charts in sales. In late 2018, Infinite Discs, which is the world's largest online disc retailer, released that 8 of their top 10 sellers were Innova discs. With the revenue coming in from disc sales, Innova historically continued to reinvest in sponsoring top talent, which again drove disc sales even higher. Some discs, like the Innova Sonic, didn't have any business being on this list, but Innova was able to move the disc through popular Garrett Gurthey signature editions. Things have been going great for Innova, but not many people could have predicted what was about to happen next. If you've been with us long enough, you've seen our shot and technique breakdowns of pros here on YouTube. At rotadiscgolf.com, we've created a tool for you to quickly and easily compare your own form with your favorite professional. Our Throw Like a Pro feature guides you through how to upload your own technique footage using screenshots from key positions in the throw. This side-by-side comparison allows you to spot differences at each position, giving you a visual of what you need to change to better throw like a pro. Check it out today at rotadiscgolf.com. After over 3 decades of mounting success for Innova, the 2018 offseason was one of the most dramatic that disc golf has ever seen. Paul Macbeth surprisingly announced that he was leaving Innova for the rival Discraft. And despite Innova bringing back top player Ricky Wysocki the same offseason, things continued to spiral downward for the disc golf giant. Year after year, Innova continued to lose top 30 players. Adam Hammes followed Paul to Discraft, and the dominoes continued to fall. Drew Gibson, James Conrad, Ricky Wysocki, Anthony Barella, all gone by the end of 2022. The first year that Macbeth and Hammes spent with Discraft saw 3 more Discraft molds move into the top 10. Discraft experienced a more than 200% rise in sales, but the addition of Wysocki to Innova wasn't a one-for-one replacement. Despite the PDGA experiencing a 14.9% growth in active memberships, Infinite Disc sales for Innova dropped 5.6%. This rise in Discraft towards the top of the list is a trend that continued into 2020, with Discraft again holding 3 of the top 5 spots. We haven't yet seen Innova lose its place as top disc manufacturer, but in just a few years we are already starting to see the effect that top players can have in this area of the market. Innova has reiterated its desire to remain the choice of champions, saying, "Together with our sponsored athletes, Innova strives to maintain a standard of excellence in competition that is second to none." But how has that played out? Innova has only 1 major since Macbeth left, and nearly half of their wins since 2019 have come from players who have moved on to other sponsors. Since Ricky Wysocki left in the 2021 offseason, Calvin Heimberg has picked up the torch and has been playing really well for Innova. Even so, in a landscape where Innova used to win 80% of events, now someone else is winning 80% of the time. Are we on a trajectory where in a few years' time, Innova is no longer the dominant disc golf brand? Shedding some light on how other manufacturing giants have risen and fallen in basketball could hint at what may lie ahead for Innova. To figure this out, we need to go back to 1984. The Celtics had just beaten the Lakers in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Basketball was rising in popularity, and there was one brand that stood out head and shoulders above the rest: Converse. Players wanted to be aligned with the cool brand, and fans wanted to be like the players that were wearing Converse shoes. Converse was an official Olympic Games sponsor and had some of the biggest names at the top of the sport signed to long-term endorsement deals: Larry Bird, Dr. J, Magic Johnson. Converse was big. Converse was everywhere. Nike, on the other hand, was a much smaller player in the NBA space. Just weeks after the finals ended, Nike invested in a rookie named Michael Jordan, who had just won a national championship at North Carolina wearing, you guessed it, Converse sneakers. This investment in a promising, marketable young talent was the start of Nike's rise to the top of the sport of basketball. While ultimately Nike would give Jordan his own line of Air Jordan shoes, Nike continued to invest in top talent over the years, including signing players to the newly created Jordan brand. While some of these players ended up eventually leaving for other companies, the vast majority of them have remained with Nike for the duration of their careers. Nike's efforts to align the most talented, marketable faces with its brand led to Nike signing the top names of each year's rookie class to endorsement deals. It was a self-sustaining cycle. Sign big names to deals, those players wear Nike shoes, fans want to be like their favorite players and buy Nike shoes, Nike reinvests into acquiring more of the game's top talent. In addition to player sponsorships, the other two things that led to Nike's ascent were tactful marketing and giving players their own shoe lines. This approach proved to be so successful that Nike continued to strengthen its hold on the sport's top talent. From the most recent NBA All-Star rosters, a staggering 19 out of 27 players had Nike or Jordan brand sponsorships. And across the entire league, 75% of players are now wearing Nike or Jordan brand shoes. Nike's strengths proved to be downfalls for Converse, whose decline was so sharp that in 2003, Nike purchased the floundering company after Converse filed for bankruptcy. To answer that question, we need to look at why Converse ultimately failed. They lost their market share of top player sponsorships, and they weren't treating their top players as well as brands like Nike, choosing to have them all wear stock Converse shoes rather than giving their top players their own shoe lines. Is Innova headed down the same path? To give some perspective into Innova's current position in disc golf, Innova has 5 top 30 PDGA ranked players signed to endorsement deals. There are a number of top 30 players slated to be free agents after the 2023 season. The hottest name on this list is Gannon Buhr, after his announcement of his departure from Prodigy Disc. Signing Gannon Buhr and placing him alongside Innova's top dog Calvin Heimberg could prove to be a great step back towards dominance for Innova. But is this thinking big enough? Should Innova's 5-year plan include a goal of signing, say, half of the top 30 players to endorsement deals? Given their historical market share and revenue, is the budget really limited to just a handful of the top players? Signing players is only one piece of the puzzle, though. Simon Sinek has said, customers will never love a company until the employees love it first. We mean no disrespect to any players by the use of the term employees, but the spirit of the quote applies here. If professionals continue to show their satisfaction about being with Innova's competitors more than Innova, maybe that's the root of the problem. Let's make one thing clear. As disc golf consumers, the diversity in disc golf companies is a great thing. The competition between companies fuels them to innovate and continue to bring great products to market. We are the beneficiaries of this healthy competition. But Innova doesn't want this. Yes, competition itself isn't a bad thing, but Innova, rightfully so, wants as many disc golfers as possible to wear Innova branded apparel, throw Innova discs, and associate disc golf with their brand. That's what any company fights for. The tried and true approach with sports is that fan interest follows the brands that popular and successful players are aligned with. Is this just a speed bump in the road for Innova, or do you think they've started on an irreversible course? Is Innova more likely to be the Nike of disc golf or the Converse? Their actions over the next couple seasons will likely dictate the trajectory of the company for years to come. Hey disc golf fans, thank you so much for watching until the end of this video. You are definitely better than your last bogey. These videos take a lot of time to put together, and we truly appreciate your support. If you like this video, I think you'll also like hearing about the history that Simon Lizotte has been making with his resurgence on tour. Check it out, and I'll see you over there.